Hello, I thought I'd read from a chapter in the book The Everyday Catholic today. This is chapter 20 called Life Its Meaning. To many, life is a great puzzle. Difficult indeed is it to understand how all the trivial episodes, accidents, worries of life, jumbled together as they are, can be part of a great design planned by God in His creation. Life consists mainly of joys and sorrows, work, play, eating, sleeping, meeting various people, some likable, others repellent, mingling in our lives, helping or hindering. Some go through most of life with us, others drop out. What does it all mean? What has this to do with salvation? How do all these events make sense in God's plan? Shall we try to imagine life as a design in embroidery? The canvas is stretched on its frame. The needle, the vari-colored silks prepared. All is ready for the work to commence. We are to work together, but you work from underneath. I work from above, forming the design known to me alone. I pass the needle through, drawing with it a blue silk thread. You push it back again. Many times this is repeated, the color changing erratically to you. Yellow, green, red, black, white, purple. To you, all comes in a bewildering succession, forming nothing but a confused jumble of colored threads, crossing and recrossing. It would not be surprising if, wearied of all this meaningless confusion, you impatiently broke the thread. The work would be hindered, the thread have to be joined again because of your petulance. The occupation is so uninteresting to you because so meaningless. Yet somehow you keep on, perhaps wondering the while how these confused threads can possibly form any design, until, the work completed, you see it in all its beauty of color and form. That is life. We are working out a design with God, who alone knows the pattern and how each one fits into the scheme of creation, with His special task which He alone can personally accomplish. When God gave us life, He intended each individual to fit as a component part into the whole complex scheme, though each would remain ignorant to a great extent, working from the wrong side, yet vital to the complete success of the whole. God, as it were, sends each thread for us to return to Him. So to us the design is a meaningless jumble, the puzzle of life. This design can be considered in a twofold way. A, each life in itself, and B, each life in relation to others. Let us examine the first. We may find yellow thread coming through representing the ordinary days, monotonous in their sameness. We get up, go to work, come home again, eat, play, sleep. Day after day, week after week it goes on, with Sunday providing a slight variant of religious duties. It does not seem to mean much in the scheme of creation. The color changes, a white thread of spiritual joy, a green thread of earthly enjoyment, a black thread of sorrow and loss, a purple thread of sickness or disappointments, a scarlet thread of victory over temptation, a blue thread of some unselfish act of kindness, still all jumbled together in apparent chaos. Growing weary, perhaps, we try to make something of our own design and break the thread by sin. We must wait for God to repair that thread by calling us to repentance, and so begin again our task. Then comes the revelation. Life's task is done, and fearfully we await the verdict of our judge. Unwilling to use the chosen color, we have spoiled our task, preferring our own choice as happier, more understandable. Have we ruined the design of God? Give an account of thy stewardship. We see the design, a basket of choice flowers. Now we see the meaning of the drab, monotonous days transformed into golden roses, and all the incidents of life that seem so trivial, forming in variety of color the beauty of the whole. Well done, good and faithful servant. Some, mayhap, will gaze on a ruined work caused by their own willful choice of self, a mass of broken threads, useless chaos forming nothing. Depart from me, ye cursed, God lost to them forever, because they would not work with Him. Though each life works out its own special task or part in the scheme, yet it does not stand alone. It contacts other lives that fit in with the plan, each being but a tiny part of the great whole, joining and blending to form the design. We influence others, are influenced in turn by them, for good or evil. Our parents train and guide us from our earliest days until we grow out of their care and influence, starting out on our own career. Or perhaps death takes them from us and we know the sorrow of loss. Their work is done. At school, our teachers help to form our character. We are watched over by our priests, trained in the way of truth, given the sacraments, and our footsteps turned to God. We meet playmates, friends, workmates, each one playing his part in the plan. We meet some we like, others we dislike. Some get on our nerves or do us an injury. Some few we love and find happiness, help, and comfort in their friendship. Like different threads interwoven, they join up our personal task with the whole scheme. By their presence or loss, we meet with joy or sorrow, but it remains always a confused mass of meetings, incidents, accidents that we cannot understand, for which there seems to be no reason. Yet all this is forming life, is in some way helping or marring our task, leading us on to salvation or eternal damnation, according as we accept the changing threads and use them all for God's purpose, or refuse to work with God and try to shape all to our own will. So we find that some people come and go, mingle with our own life for a time, and then depart. And in some way, all this is forming and working out God's plan. Not till the end shall we know the meaning of it all. Then we shall see how our tiny basket of flowers, our own personal task, fits harmoniously into the great tapestry of creation. If we try to see life in this way, it will become less of a puzzle, more understandable, so long as we are content to leave in God's care the ultimate working out of his scheme. As the ages pass, the loom of time is slowly weaving the great design of God. Each single life, one among the millions of others down the ages, is a tiny but essential part of the whole. Each act in that single life building up what no other may do, having an unknown worth in God's sight. Each day adding a little to the complete design. It may help us to understand a little how the various incidents in our own life, in the progress of the world at large, fit into each other and have a place in a scheme so divine that we cannot have anything but the faintest idea of its immensity and scope. So prosperity in this land, famine in another, droughts, abundance, storms and calms, riches and poverty, catastrophes, earthquakes, and all that goes to make up life in this planet, the lame, the blind, the dumb, the sick, the healthy, cripples and deformed, and the whole variety of humankind, have all a definite place in the scheme of God, foreseen and planned in his creative act, so mysterious and hidden as far as we are concerned, but so necessary in the working out of God's masterpiece. God brings good out of evil, causes the fruits of virtue to spring from pain and sorrow, balances all happenings in some way for the good of the whole. Even the great turmoil of wars as we have experienced them during the present century plays a definite part, perhaps purging the world in some mysterious way of its evils caused by the passions and ambitions, the selfishness and arrogance of individual men or nations. War brings out many hidden virtues and astonishing capabilities in human nature, in spite of all the turmoil, suffering, and privation caused. God brings good out of evil. If we can bring ourselves to accept the truth of this, it should reconcile us to the differing incidents that make up life, teach us resignation to God's all-loving will. If we look back on the years past, we find that life levels itself out, and taking it as a whole, joy and pain balance each other when viewed in the perspective of time, for time heals all. What seemed to overwhelm us when it happened gradually fades to insignificance. What we thought never to survive has passed to the limbo of forgotten things. Stricken down by sorrow, with God's help we rose again and went our way, since always God sends strength to endure whatsoever he permits to happen in our lives. Always our Father is watching over us, caring for our welfare, And in his love we can go forward unafraid in complete trust, fearless of the future since all is in the hand of God. Could we but see that each event is of value in God's sight, in his plan, that all the time he is working with us, sustaining and helping us to carry the burdens which fall to our lot, then we could face with courage whatever may befall and cooperate with God, in the knowledge that never shall we be tried beyond our strength, but shall be given grace to endure for him whatever he deems good in our regard. Take courage then, and work with God and for God, always, in all places. God is with us, giving us his grace by which to carry through the design he intends in our personal life. If we try to see some design in each thread of life, and no matter how dim a way, to believe that there is a definite plan in the mind of God which will bring all to our greater good, then we shall courageously bear whatever toil, grief, or sorrow falls to us. Make the most of our station in life, the conditions under which we live and work, and be satisfied that such is the will of God. Then we shall no longer envy those who have greater possessions, more opportunities than come to us, being content to leave all to God, knowing that he will turn all to the advantage of our soul, so long as we are faithful to our trust and try to work out in patience his scheme of life for us and his great plan, thus earning for our soul the reward of good and faithful service. Because thou hast been faithful over few things, I will place thee over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord.